Hey, Sound Engraver here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to some more SuperCollider. Now, this topic is actually going to be a little bit different than usual. It's not going to be really a demo per se. It's actually going to be discussing something I had overlooked when working with audio files and transposition. So I have an original sample here. I'm not going to play the original sample with my original amplitude because it's quite loud, it's quite overbearing, but I will show you the duration. I've already got it loaded, locked and loaded. So you can see here that it is 18 seconds approximately in length, not exactly 18 seconds, but approximately. And I will go ahead and evaluate this synth def here, and we will hear it at the amplitude of just a little less than a third of the original amplitude. Now, I am using this release argument rather lazily, kind of carelessly, but the file is going to release at the end of 18 seconds. I have it down in my documents where I do add a sustain argument and it's a little smoother, but for all intents and purposes, this is an ambient drone running across the fixed length of 18 seconds. We can see inside this default group this little white box representing the synth. So right around where the outputs are dropping and as the sound is released, this white box should also go, as you also saw. All right, so that's all well and good. We've got an audio file. It's a nice drone. It sounds quite pleasant. But with audio files, especially with me, I like to transpose and I like to work with different pitches and different complexities. So I ran into this problem that I'm just going to share with you and read it right off the bat there. You can't maintain the original length of the audio file when transposing. So what does that mean? Well, I cannot maintain that fixed length of 18 seconds, at least the sound. I can't maintain the sound fixed at 18 seconds when transposing up one pitch or up one octave or two octaves. Let's actually show you what I mean here. We'll start with this sample, this audio file, being transposed at 12 semitones higher using our MIDI ratio method. And like before, I have this release argument at 18. So let's go ahead and run this. And you will hear the pitch. It's originally middle C, I believe, maybe one octave lower. So you're going to hear C this time an octave higher. So if you've noticed, if you were listening carefully, the sound is much shorter in duration, but the synth def is still here until it goes away at approximately 18 seconds. Let's try again at 24 semitones, which is transposing this up 2 octaves. So we've got a fast duration, a fast release, but this synth is still not fully released, not until the end of approximately 8 seconds. So what gives here? Well, it's actually a very basic principle in sound. We have a pitch at a fixed length, at a fixed duration, and when we transpose that pitch for higher or for lower, that's going to affect the duration. Let me go ahead and use a practical example with my handy dandy violin. So this is a principle that holds true for any instrument, piano, trumpet, and also violin. So we'll use what I know best here, the violin. So we're going to be talking about fixed length, and in this practical example, we're talking about the length, the fixed length of a string. So as you can see here, violin has strings, and you can see, whether you know the violin or not, that the strings are quite tight. The strings are set at 2 fixed points, one point here at the bridge and one point here at the nut or the groove. And at these 2 fixed points, this is basic physics, by the way, with sound waves and resistance and stuff. It's quite exciting. I love it. I love it. Anyway, at these 2 fixed points, we've actually got our established pitch. So We have 4 strings. I'm just going to go ahead and pluck the string A above middle C. That is my 3rd string over to the right. So we have that A above middle C, resonating and vibrating between these 2 fixed points. Now, at any point along the string where I depress my finger and place it firmly onto the A string, no matter where across the fingerboard, wherever point I set it in place, that is going to shorten the length of the string. So if I shorten it here, if I depress here, we're shortening it just by a little bit, raising the pitch maybe a semitone or 2 semitones. Maybe along here, a little higher, maybe a 3rd or a 4th. And then if I depress it about halfway between the groove here, the nut here, and the fixed point on the bridge, halfway, I am having the length of the string, obviously. This is my A string. I am having the length of the string, and therefore causing it to go up in pitch by 1 octave. And this is how violin playing works. So here's my A. And here I will be using a natural harmonic, lightly depressing right at the midpoint between the bridge and the nut. And that is 1 octave higher. If I depress right at a 4th, or a 3rd rather, of the string, that resulted in the pitch transposing up 1 octave plus another 5th. And then a 3rd of the string. Well, that's a harmonic, which is 2 octaves higher. But actually, I'll just go ahead and depress. I'll depress firmly. So this is my natural harmonic here. So 1 octave higher, and then a 4th, which is a fifth above the original A. I meant to say 3rd of the string. I'm getting this backwards. And then a 4th of the string, resulting in 1/4 above. So that's how I transpose the pitch higher, is actually depressing onto the string, thereby shortening the length. This is true with tuning. If I wanted to tune my A string to go up in pitch, I would either turn the fine tuner to tighten the string, therefore shortening the length of the string, or actually dramatically loosening or tightening the string. So if I really did want to pitch the A down and loosen it, well, I would lengthen the string. I'm not going to do it now. I would lengthen the string quite substantially, and the resulting pitch would go much, much lower. So pitch in the way of violin playing has everything to do with the length of string. This is the same with tubing involving a brass instrument. The length of the tube is going to affect the pitch. The length of the string that the piano hammers is going to affect the pitch. So this is also true in the sound synthesis world with the length of the audio file. I am going an octave higher. If I'm transposing an octave higher from the original pitch and inside an 18-second audio file, well, then I am having that duration. So instead of 18 seconds, you're going to hear the sound go through in time over 9 seconds. Half the length. And then up an octave is going to be about 4.5 seconds in length. So that was about a little over 2 seconds in length. So this is a problem when you want to have that original length maintained. Now there is a little bit of a workaround. You can circumvent this problem when you actually transpose below the original length. So down an octave actually is going to be fine with an 18-second release of the synth, because now we are effectively doubling the length or the flexibility for this lower sound. So what do I mean? Well, let's try the 18 seconds, 1 octave below. Well, that's 18. Let's evaluate this synth. Now it is quite quiet, but you can hear it had dropped in pitch by 1 octave. Now the sound, you can see the level meters here, the outputs here. This is going to release right about the same time this white box releases, and as you can see that now. And then even more so, dropping it down 1 octave can actually double the length of the original file. So we can actually have this course through in a matter of approximately 36 seconds. So it's just gonna go and go and go for 36 seconds, and it will release right at the edge of 36 seconds along with this white box here, this synth that I am playing. So watch those level meters carefully, also the white box there. Now, this is all important to know, and I didn't ever run into this problem when transposing sound files from previous projects, even as far back as 2 to 3 years ago, because my sound files were so short. I would use like a snare or something like that. I would use percussive sounds. I would never use very, very long audio files. So I asked Eli Fieldsteel how I could work around this, and the answer is not that simple, but he does use a method, a delay line method that I think he worked out himself. I think this is his original idea. Now he used his input was his voice into the microphone. It wasn't an audio file, but I'm going to use this method of his and explore it with audio files. And I'm happy to put that video in the description below. It's one of his class tutorials, and I will include the timestamp of what he's talking about. I will say right now, is way over my head. I have to look at it maybe 4 or 5 times to really understand what's going on. But I hope this does work with transposing with audio files. He did indicate, he kind of hinted that it was probably the smoothest sounding, because he didn't recommend actual specific U-gens in SuperCollider, so I'm going to take his word for it. But yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that. Hopefully this kind of thing might be obvious to you if you're working in SuperCollider, especially with sound files, but I was just thinking, why is this sound dropping 9 or 10 seconds before the synth is released? And that is why. Anyway, thank you so much for this. Of course, we will have more sound experimentation to come, and I will be exploring how to effectively transpose very long audio file lengths. Hopefully I'm successful, but until I am, thank you so much for watching. Always be on the lookout for some more weekly experimentation in SuperCollider or Logic Pro. And until I see you next, keep producing the art you love, and I will catch you later. Thanks again.